of that I had over my own life because of my own actions was really kind of starting revelation to me. And it's ill to say, you know, I understand we're powerless. Can you believe that? I sometimes use as an example with flying business. I'm not a great flyer, and I probably wouldn't fly if I didn't have to. But the reason I'm not a flyer is because I'm out of control. I'm absolutely powerless when I step on that plane, you know. And the first time I ever made a plane trip, one of the airline guys gave me a little card as a going away present. You know, if I don't know if there's a disc, I don't know whether you agree with that or not, but I found the pieces, and this guy gave me a card which I felt so nice to her, you know. So I put it up, and on the front of it, it had the worst looking plane your son life, you know, the wings turned up, and up the top it said, I have just spoken to your pilot, and he's not the least bit worried. And when you open it up, the pilot looked worse than the plane. And it said, drunk, yes, worried, no. So she had managed to pick up on both my fears. But anyhow, getting back to this meeting with these people, it was just about this time, and the word release came into existence. And I don't know what they call it now, but my response was one of the people that had to be kept busy. See, I couldn't say to do nothing. I sit there and I say, well, I have to do something. And she'd say, you are doing something. And I'd say, no, I'm not. And she'd say, yes, you are. And I'd say, what am I doing? And she'd say, nothing. and I realized that doing nothing, doing something. You know, I still don't quite understand that, but I was never still from it. See, I always went through life like something was checking me. And for me to sit still was just almost more than I could stand. And so she used to give me little things to do, so I feel like I would earn my keep in life, I guess. And when this thing about release came out, she gave it to me and she said, now well, one for each member of the group, a copy for each member of the group. And there's about 15, but maybe 25, you need them extra. So I typed it 25 times. She didn't mention carbon paper, I never thought it, you know. And when I took it to the meeting, every place that the word release appeared, I had spelled it R-E-L-E-A-S-H. That was really what I did, you know. She always said it was a Freudian slip because they say let go and let go until you got so far and I put it back. And so I was just never able to just let it go, you know. It was just like nothing. I didn't understand letting go or nothing. I finally got to the second step. I kind of know that I had to edit to them again because the unfortunate word came to leave it a power rated and they stopped restoring me to sanity. Now I'm sitting in California in my own house with my car and my kids and everything, and he's sitting in a California State Hospital. And they want me to admit that the power rated myself is going to restore me to sanity. And if you analyze these steps one at a time, you'll find very few of them apply to you. You know, I left that one for you too. But after some time what I was doing, I had to go back to some of these. And really that second step, well, I began to think of some of the things that I had done, you know. For instance, one of my favorite pastimes was hiding the car. I'd find out where it was, and then I'd put it in the one place I knew he'd never look for, a garage. And then I'd watch him while he just went all the time looking for his damn car. And when I thought he had been punished enough, then when it wasn't there, I'd take the car out of the garage and put it right back where I got it from. Now, maybe that isn't crazy, but the pleasure that I used to get out of listening to him mumble, I know I looked there, you know, he thought I was losing mind because he had looked and there it was, you know. And my other favorite thing was if I wanted to keep him home, I had various methods. In fact, I'm moving with some of the methods that I used. If I know I was going to be married that year to this one, I trained him to sleep. Because a lot of the things that I taught him I'm now stuck with, you know, like serving his name in front of the TV if he's watching a baseball game or a hockey game or something, you know, right in the middle of Perry Mason, which is what I like to watch. Anyhow, he's a very neat individual, and he has everything's arranged, so, you know, he'd go into a dark room in the middle of the night, he'd just bright door, come up with right or black off, and that's disgusting. And when I used to get the idea of keeping him at home, I used to put some drawers on him. Because that used to drive me crazy, you know, because he never thought of just switching the doors back, he'd take everything out of the and arrange it all back. And yet, I couldn't relate to the word sanity. You see, I thought I was saying the two. But in the final definition of the word sanity to me, you know what it was? It was you. I couldn't understand you people. You did damn things every day in my life. I knew what you were doing. Was you happy? That did make a little bit of difference. I don't care why I'm that way. What I care about today is that I have a way to live that doesn't necessitate me going back and looking for reasons. That's one of the primary reasons that, in my opinion, I don't like to listen to the non-alcoholic or Al-Anon or whatever they have to be, start studying about alcoholism. They never didn't understand alcoholism. When I got to Al-Anon, I knew all I wanted to know about alcohol and didn't know I knew it. I was fed up with something I didn't even recognize, because I never blamed Eddie Spickett. I did not want him to come to Alcoholics Anonymous and quit drinking. I wanted him to earn money. That was the only thing I had that I had in my mind. If he would do what I told him to, everything would turn out right. But he would do it. And when I first got Al-Anon, weren't the Al-Anon meetings that they have, and my pastor got delivered, took him to a lot of AA meetings. I don't know whether she cared about me or some way he was busy. But I'm grateful for those meetings, because I believe it was in Alcoholics Anonymous that I learned the true meaning of the healing of life. I used to go to those meetings, I listened to somebody stand up and tell them for the story I ever heard in my life, and them idiots would laugh. I was the only one in that whole room that felt how he had suffered. Yeah. And then maybe 30 or 45 minutes or an hour later, somebody would get up and walk in front of the room and take a one-year birthday cake. And you'd look around at the same people, and you'd see their face a look that I have never found adequate enough to describe. That look of thank you, God, that one more person has found this word of life, which meant so much to each and every one of us. Because I believe, just like him, I believe the strength of the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon is the fact that for as many people as there are involved with, there are that many ways to work. We don't share situations in this fellowship. We share feelings. And even though our situations can be miles apart, feel the same way inside about all of those things. It's like the difference between liking and loving. I love people, but to love them don't like. And I don't love them for their sake, I love them for my sake. Because one of the things I do not want to do today, that I do all my life, is resent anybody to the point where I've given a hammer and left it to be there and they're never even going to know, hey, you know, I'm not going to help. Not knowing that was a form of insanity as far as I was concerned. Because I went through life just like people, eliminating them from my life for whatever reason. As I'm saying, usually say, in fact, when I got down, I was one of those people that put, one of those individuals, I should say, put people in categories. Those you encourage, those you tolerate, those you ignore. And all my life, what I had you placed there, who made how much you changed? I never changed. You were still what you were when I put you wherever you happened to land. That form of insanity. That inability to allow people the dignity to live their lives the way they want to. Maybe that's also one of the reasons why, in my opinion, as far as the Al-Anon is concerned, I hope that it's never necessary for my husband to take another drink. But if he does, I hope God gives me the ability to keep my mouth shut, to allow him the opportunity to come back into this fellowship. And I think sometimes and it's my opinion, with all I'm offering, while I hear this again, but in my opinion, it's against our traditions. Go and say he's drinking again. Because I did that once. And I know what I did. Not him, to me. Because maybe sober here in 3 days, somebody said they're going to give me cake to celebrate. And he had been so long enough to know that in celebrating, people do use cake, they don't have to have beer. Excuse me, and he went out and had 1 beer. It took him 24 hours to know his slip. It took me 3 weeks. 3 weeks before I could feel comfortable enough to watch him walk out the door without that knock that I had got so accustomed to him sitting someone. Now, you would think that I'd be smart enough to let alone that what I did was I went down to Long Beach to the Long Beach AA office, and I got Chuck Sherling's telephone number, and I called him on the phone, and I told him that the members of Alcoholics Anonymous in our area had not found it necessary to give my husband sufficient information to stay sober. And he laughed, too. He said to me, he used to chuckle. He didn't laugh. He goes, and he said, how long did you say he'd been sober? And I said, a year and 3 days. He told me later on, years later, that he knew who God was because I had down almost a minute how long he had been sober. And so when I said a year and 3 days, he laughed again and I hung up on him. And I left the AA office and walked right directly across Pine Street to the register store that had a public telephone I wouldn't even use there for. And I called out on and reported Alcoholics Anonymous. And Lee Hardy, the rest of she's gone now, but Lee Hardy was on at that time. And I said to her, how could anyone who has spent 1 year rebuilding their lives choose to go back to what it was like? And she said to me, I don't know. And maybe he has to reach his heart, but I think you have. And she sent me down on me. And that, I believe, or I began to understand some of the things that having kept talk about. A power greater than myself that could restore me to sanity. To keep me from doing these strange things that always, when I was alone, seemed to loom up to embarrass me. You ever embarrassed me alone? That was a pattern for me, you know. I always kind of walked into one of the drunk breakfasts in the morning and realized what he'd done. You know, that was me. Well, he only did one drink. I did every time I held my eyes. You know, I was constantly being embarrassed. But the other thing that bothered me about this Al-Anon program in the beginning was that it was nothing but Protestants. After my first meeting, I knew they were all Protestants because at that time, you know, the Catholics didn't stay for that kingdom power and glory for every man. We stopped at a certain point. And here I am trapped with all these people that are saying it the wrong way. I wasn't quite sure what the priest was going to think about that. And toward the time that one said to me, well, just keep coming back and maybe they'll change. And I'll be darned if the Catholics didn't change, you know, because we now say that too. But anyhow, I had a lot of trouble with the spiritual part of this program because I was a person that came to Al-Anon. I had a lot of religion that absolutely no faith. You know, I went to church because I was scared. I was afraid I wasn't going to be good enough to go to heaven or bad enough to go to hell, but I had purgatory in mind. And to me, purgatory was like an elevator, you know, and one tries today to get out just to remind you of all the things you've done. And so I was a little upset because these women seemed to be high on the ball, you know, they didn't quote the Bible or anything, but they said spiritual type things I heard them Sunday, you know, and besides that, they were talking way over my head. I didn't understand a lot of the things that they were saying. And so when I got to the spiritual awakening, because I wasn't the people, one of the reasons it started me to talk about the steps in order, because I went from first to 12. See, I went right from getting the message that I would power over Winnie, making 12 steps off, above they were power over way too. And there was never a call too hard that I would make, you know, because it said you want to go to any length if you want what we have. That's in the A book. But I did a lot of reading in the A book. So anyhow, I've been on these 12 step calls, and I hadn't had a spiritual awakening, so I wasn't really doing a good job in the 12 steps. And I said to the woman, when are you going to have a spiritual awakening? And she'd say, it'll come, it'll come. And I get a little impatient. I had moved from Temple City to Garden Grove. And my twins, I told you about last night, had come to an age where they decided they wanted to be pregnation attendants. And they were constantly putting water in the gas tanks. And this kind of upset me because he never got any place he was going, did I? Because I wasn't going anywhere. I was doing nothing, which is for a long time I was working the programs, what I was doing. And so Ed tried to let me know that if he started out from place and got stuck because those kids that were in gas tanks, then I'd possibly be the boss in our family. So when I thought the little rascal took that, and you know, I thought, oh my God, I ought to do something. So I decided I would drain the gas tank. And I got those big pipe wrenches, and I got underneath the car. Now my kids used to stand around and watch me doing some of these things, you know, like when I was new and studying Al-Anon, I used to do it in the light end. And that may sound a little crazy to you too. But if you don't have any children, you don't know that I have to pay for it. Because you don't have to worry about where they are standing up fighting. Like you know. But anyhow, I got underneath the car with the pipe wrench, just stuck out halfway out, because it was about that long. And none of the gas tank was really upside too. And I wasn't having any success listening to anything. So I got out to get some of that wood wrench that he always said was marvelous. And my washer and dryer were in the garage, and I had cast iron, so one thing that needed to be washed. I thought, I could put it in the washing machine out here anyhow. So I did. And got back underneath the car and removed the wood wrench and the pipe wrench. And heard the washing machine stop. So I got out from underneath the car, went over and things out of the washing machine, put it in the dryer, and turned it on and back underneath the car. Well, it worked. I got the nut off of the gas tank, and now I had a bucket about that big of gasoline and water. and I didn't know what to do with it. And you kept it in the gutter, you know how irresponsible people are. And I didn't want to put it on grass, because it would kill the grass. So I put it in the stationary tub between the washer and the dryer. And as soon as I realized what I'd done, I reached out, turned on cold water to keep them. And that's when the garage left. The washing machine passed me on one side, the dryer passed me on the other side. There was a fire you would not believe. And the only casualty was the guy next to the house. He was trying to put it out with his hand. You know, I stand, I turned it over. But he didn't believe me. I just didn't against it to him. And he was really the only casualty. I don't know, called the fire department. I went right in the house and called my sponsor. And I told her this was not working. And she made a trip from Marquette to Gardner, which is probably 27 miles or thereabouts. And she stood in the middle of what had been in the garage and looked at what had been in the washer and the dryer. And then very quietly, she said to me, "What kind of a spiritual awakening are you looking for?" And I had to admit that I looked around to see what she now saw, that I just had one bill and that awakening, you know. That I've been adult. My ears rang for 3 days. And Fire Marshal, he just had been shook his head. You know. And the end of that story almost as funny as the damn explosion, because I didn't want anyone to know that I had taken. I didn't want him to know I was responsible for all that. And I couldn't have the nut back on a gas tank, and so I just ignored it. And he took part of the filling station. I could have just enough left to get it, but I don't know. Except he put it in one and it was run out of here. And came home, but that's more like a combination of the first step and the third step, you know what I mean? Because when I got here, I was not willing to turn my own eye for the air out, as I understood. As I understood him, he did not understand me. That was obvious, you know. And at the time that I first started working on that, he was in the hospital at the time, I really did hate him as a caring mother, so I kept that one for both. But now, I was never willing to turn my own life over to care about. But I used to visit anybody else on earth, whether they asked for it or not. And the example that I always use is our LA freeways. When I get on the freeway, I go right over to Locane, because I expect the straight ahead, that's where I'm going. It's supposed to be the fastest lane now. It's not, it's supposed to be. It's there, it's supposed to be. It ain't. But anyhow, there's always some doctor will get right on behind me, rush past me, move over in this slow down. She thought he'd get ahead here, move back there and go up. So he will know how I feel, see. So he gets ahead of me, and then I get ahead of him. And he gets to me, and I get about 5 miles over the road. He puts on his right hand picture, moves over, and leaves the freeway. Because he's home. I'm usually 3 miles past myself. Because he had set control of my life. So I wasn't going to turn it over to God. However, I did notice when I told him with little situations, you know, and she'd say to me, "Oh, just turn it over." But she needs to whom, which I don't understand, it's in the mama's program. So everybody who has a problem. And by this one particular day, I was having a pretty good one, and I thought anyhow, you know, everything was good to me in those days. And I called on the phone, she listened to the mood, and I started to tell her my big situation. She snapped at me, which was the first time she ever really done it. She said, "Oh, for heaven's sake, Winnie, turn it over." I said, "You don't have to get yourself for that. That's what you say to me." I said, you just don't realize that you never said to whom. Well, she said, "I thought you knew. You turned it over to God." I said, "No, I haven't even told him I'm going to tell him yet, you know." And I could tell by your tone of voice that I said, "But I didn't want that. This is the sick one I'm dealing with." And I gave him $200. I turned over to God that he can let would make her happy. And it took me about 3 days. And finally, when I called her on the phone, I said, "Okay, well, I'm turning something over to God." And she said, "Good. But he's turning over." I said, "My earning." And she said, "You're ironing?" I said, "Well, you said it didn't." "Oh, no. She said, it's all right. And I don't know if you realize it, no, I don't like iron either. He just keep ironing in the cabinet, you know, in case I got the urge where I could pull it down and iron it. And I turned over him his pop-out cabinet and boxes eventually got to run. So it was a horrible mess. And whenever she came over to my house, which was quite often, and I'd say, "Where's Mom? I want to see the ironing." And that's what she always gave me routine number 1, you know, it's all right. I figured it don't bother her, it don't bother him. I won't let it bother me either. And one night after an AA meeting, you know, Monday, this guy walked up and he said to me, "Well, you got a bunch of kids, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, I was dating by then." And he said, "Well, I go normally to Mexico, and those are the guys who use anything that's possibly your kids have phone. So I promised him faithfully I would go right home, I would arrange everything, and he'd just take up his leisure. But I am procrastinating by profession. He didn't follow me home. One morning, I got to me. Now, it was sometime after that, and I'm not sure of the same time. But I came home from now on the meeting, and he said to me, "Double by," and he picked up the stuff there for me. I said, "He did?" He said, "Yeah." So where'd you find it? He said, "Those boxes in the breakfast room." Now, if there are those of you who have not yet put together, I want you to know that he got my iron. And from that day to this moment, I have had no problem turning things over to God. Because my God, as I understand him today, has some of those unique answers that I never would have done into Mexico. And besides all that, you know, he made me look good. And I didn't have to put any effort for it, you know. I've had so many manifestations in my life of how I have gotten out of hole. She just wouldn't believe. 2 years ago, I went to Germany with my son Frank to visit my son Arthur. They're both of them must like me when I was there. And warriors, you know, warriors. Frank was about 12 years old, and he said to me one day, "Mom, someday I'm going to own a boat, even if I have to go work." And I realized Jimmy went to work on a job boat. You don't have anything but swimming pool to put in. Now it's right for a river. But anyhow, we got off the plane in Berlin, or and the first English word we heard, "Your luggage is lost." Frank went for it. You know, he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, we're going to be the first people through presents." That's first thing first, that's one good thing. And we were there people through Christmas. The next day, we were in Berlin, the luggage was in Berlin, they even delivered it. Brian said to me, how do you explain this? And I said, I don't know, I guess I just didn't want to stop remembering. That's all. The whole purpose of that whole story is that it proved to me that all the worry in the world is not going to do anything about anything. No matter how much I had worried about it, I wasn't supposed to get back, I wouldn't have gotten it back. But what worry has done in my life is robbed me of the only gift that I've been given that I cannot replace, and that's time. For every second of every minute, every hour, every day that I spend worrying about things I know I can do nothing about, I have just spent that much time of the life allotted to me, and I'm never going to be able to get it back. So I try not to worry. It doesn't work 100% of the time. But what does? Nothing works 100% of the time. And the reason in my particular case, the fact that it didn't work sometimes is what keeps me coming back. If I had been able to figure this program out, this way of life out, and if I had been able to breathe through it the way I thought I was going to, I would be here today. I'd be back out there fighting shadows that I have fought all my life. And so the first 3 steps to me is sort of like planting a garden. It's the seed. The seed that begins to blossom as you get into the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Because each section of those steps to me is like raising a garden of flowers. I watched people, and I'm sure you have too, that have walked in that look like death warmed over. And you begin after the 2nd, maybe the 3rd, maybe the 4th meeting. If they keep coming back, you begin to see sparkle in their eyes. They don't even recognize it's there. Many said they don't recognize it's there. I know it's for me to see it's there because I have a manifestation of the fact that I know it works. That's why when I mentioned I'm not one of these people that puts a lot of stress on longevity. I haven't got any more idea how today is going to turn out than you do, no matter how many years you've been around. It's a one day at a time way of life. And I like that way. When I first sat down on my Bible became just for today. I went around trying to do the things that it listed in that just for today. Sounds simple, but it's not. Trying to do something somebody without letting them find it out. Trying to be happy. You're really not happy. I also like the prayer back to St. Francis of Assisi because I went to school and I've been a lot of praying in my life. They're never prayers for me. Never prayers that I might be able to understand rather than be understood. Or I'd be able to love rather than be loved. Or that I'd be able to forgive rather than be forgiven. I never thought of it that way. I also tell you that when I first got to Al-Anon, I quit on church. And there was a conflict of interest between my church and my needs. And I don't know what. I never have really figured it out, and I haven't tried all the hard because it really didn't make a whole heck of a lot of difference. I just knew maybe if you could play a game. See, church to me was a game. They used to sit in the front row with as many kids as I had authority I could go. And I wanted the priest to know that I was doing my Christian duty. And I just know I ran into a priest from the parish that I belonged to, Alcoholics Anonymous. And he remembered me, I'll tell you, I remember him. He said, have you any idea what it's like to try to sit in mass when you've got a female sitting on the front row with a whole bunch of kids and she didn't pay a bit of attention to what you're doing? She's sitting on the back, sitting on the back. So that's what I used to do, you know. And I don't think credit for driving me to Alcoholics Anonymous. I really think it was a sacramental line, but for him to remember me, you know, I got mad at the Catholic Church really before I actually got down on. I told every one of my kids that were in school, out of school, and I sent them to a Baptist school. Because I figured out the worst thing I do is Catholics. And it did seem to bother him at all, so I went down to the diocese office to tell the cardinal about the Monsignor that's in our parish who had hired that order of nuns that had no business being done. I hope the priests are all busy today. Anyhow, I never got quite to the cardinal. I got hold of another Monsignor, and I just told him what I thought of that parish and that priest and that Monsignor and those nuns, and he just had to listen to me, you know. It didn't change anything, but I thought that when I left. And after I'd been in Al-Anon for probably 3 or 4 years, I went to a luncheon. It was in the Council on Alcoholism first came to exist, and Marty had come out to try to get a little push to it in our area. And I went to the luncheon at Billmore with CCB was a friend of mine. And today up on the dais was Marty and I forget it, they're taking it, and I'm even know their names. Well, what the heck, they don't know who they are. There were movie stars, there was the sheriff of Lake County, and among the other dignitaries was this Monsignor. And I saw him and I thought, oh my Lord, because I guess always I began to think of my last meeting with him. And I didn't have to let him know that I was there. Without him knowing I was there. That's a very difficult type of situation. And after all the speeches were over, and after all the, we started to leave, you know, people were waking up into little groups. So he said to me, come on, I want to go over and talk to Pete Bridges. And she worked for the state of California, and she knew it, and I figured, what the heck, I'm pretty like the sheriff. And so I went with her, and then we approached him. He was talking to this Monsignor. And I said, I can't go over there. And she said, why not? And I said, because that's the one I read off. And she said, oh, for heaven's sake, he believed in me. That's been a long time ago. And I figured, oh, she's right. It had been a long time ago. And we walked after where the two of them were standing. And Monsignor took my hand and shook his. And he said to me, Winfred, you look a lot better than last time I saw you. So, that gives you an idea of how powerless I was over myself. How I came and went to search for spirituality in my life. Now, you don't have to go to those things. You have to be really well in order to do what I did. Because I think when the Al-Anon comes in, they're well. That's their problem. You take a drug to me, maybe you don't get sober, but immediately you can see change. I could not see change in me until I quit looking for it. That was change in me. And I quit looking for improvement, looking for this, looking for that. That's when I began to really know that I was changing. I didn't have that knot in my thumb. It was okay, you know, if things did go my way. I would say that when they first came home from the hospital, I had put up with all the drink, but sobriety was starting crazy, and I happened to just mention it, adding to Will one day that little round glass in his dinner sometime, because I couldn't stand it. And she said to me, why don't you work tradition on him? And I said, oh, for heaven's sake, petitions are for the group. And she said, what's your house? You have a group. And I did. I had more members in my family, some of those groups had in their whole group now. And she said, well, principles of personality. And I tried it, and it worked. I began to listen to what he said and forget who was saying it. And, you know, he began to make sense. And I thought, it suddenly dawned on me that probably from the very beginning, I was always so busy trying to figure out what he meant. I never heard what he said, you know. And I had a manifestation of that too. I was sitting at the kitchen table, the dining room table, whatever you want to call it, the same table, depending on the time, day, what it is. And I have one wall inside of glass, sliding glass door to the window. And I was sitting here, and he was sitting there, and I looked at him, and I said, that's a hummingbird. He just kind of glanced over his shoulder, and with his usual charm said, that's a sparrow. Well, there was one time in my life when we were sat at that table for the rest of our lives, if necessary, until he admitted that the sparrow he saw was a hummingbird, you know. But because of that little tip that woman gave me, and because I had been practicing it a little bit along the way, I said to him, where do you see a sparrow? And he pointed, and I turned a little bit farther, and sure enough, there was a sparrow. The miracle or coincidence of that is that I believe in the final analysis that's what this fellowship is all about. The ability to see through other people's eyes, and to hear through other people's voices. Because I can't see everything, and I can't hear everything. But if I'm willing to let you enlarge my world, to point out to me the things that I can't see because of my limited ability to take in what's going on, or if I allow you to tell me the things that you have heard that have made improvement in your life, and I can't possibly make improvement in my life, and that's what it's all about. That's why one hand reading it with another hand makes things of this fellowship what it is today. And that's my opinion. But I've never, ever seen a failure in this way of life. That don't mean that I'm falsely sober either. I have firm belief that those who find it necessary to go out and take another drink, God forbid they ever should have to, are sort of a miracle in themselves. Because they prove to the rest of them something that they only read in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is a day-by-day reprieve from a disease that is so horrendous that people don't even recognize it. Don't know what they have, and that works on both sides of best. I don't believe that it was a bad thing that God tied me up with an alcoholic, and I'm not sorry for all the things I had to go through in order to get here. Because if it had been the fact that I had to find a way to live without drinking, I'd still be out there fighting windmills to the fall of my life. Because I did not know that that wasn't the way the whole world was. I don't know for sure whether I would have been able to make 2 minutes a day. And I'm not knocking anybody or anything. If that works for you, it's great. But if anybody walked up to me and said, do you come with something in the family? I said, no. My family was absolutely normal. A few little idiosyncrasies, but nothing special. When I came down, they didn't have the scientific knowledge about alcoholism that they have today. They said there are strange things that I grew to understand, like we're all here because we're all there. All the things made sense. They also said this is like where we learn glad together about the things we tried out alone. That made sense to me too. The guy that died Thursday, one I am yesterday, and mine tomorrow makes cockeyed today. I can understand that. The one I've held on to that I enjoy thinking of on a regular basis is the one I heard about. We all know God never closes one door that he doesn't open another, but it can be held in the hall. And when I begin to get those funny feelings back, that's one of the things that I think about. Simply got me in the hall to get out the door, you know. I'm going to close here in just a second, but I don't know whether you know what Rule 62 is? Yeah. Rule 62 is don't take yourself too damn seriously. And our woman that we had in March, we had a workshop on this, and they made up these little books, you know. And I think that's one of the secrets to the success of this fellowship. Don't take yourself too seriously. And that's what I try to practice one day at a time. I have on my watch, which I can't see, so will you tell me what time it is? 10 after 10? Oh, I'm fine. Okay, thank you very much for listening. See you later. In the session this morning to thank the committee and everybody connected with it, all the little goodies that are in my room. It's been a long time since anybody gave me a stuffed toy, but I took it, put it on my pillow last night, a little pink red, and slept with it. Didn't miss them at all, you know. In fact, sometimes I'm getting too well. I don't miss as much as I suppose I should. Anyhow, now we have come as far as I'm concerned to the cultivating part, as I call it, of the fellowship, and that's the 4th, 5th, and 6th steps. And I just much told well as I did with them 2 and 3, maybe a little bit more, you know, because I've listened to these gals in these meetings talk about, and I was my inventory. And if you read that sentence, it is a certain moral inventory. I didn't see of myself. I never thought agreed beyond where it was necessary for me to comprehend what I wanted to do. So I more or less figured what I wanted to know was how bad it had been that would make it necessary for me to be considered a member of the Al-Anon family group. And so I had kind of a running diary of all the mean, lousy, low down things they ever done to me. And I jotted down a few of them, and I'm ready for the 5th step. And we used to have what they call a telephone line, or a lifeline called, and some unsuspecting people didn't think I would call them. Gave me the phone numbers. And after I had finished my inventory, which took me almost 20 minutes, I think, I started at the top. But she'd sit there, she'd just knit and talk and grumble and all that other stuff. No, I'm not going to do that. And it's upsetting. And one of the first things that I got hung up on is enmity. And I used to give the people in that meeting nicknames. And I gave one as the nickname of Madame Lodge. If I was talking to them, I'd say, did you hear what Madame Lodge said to me? And one night she said to me, do you know who Madame Lodge was? And I said, well, she's that female from Taylor to Sea who used to go to the execution, and she would admit, while they executed the nobleman of the French regime, every time a head fell, she shot a stitch. And then when she got home, she got number 6, she dropped and she knew how many people had hit the dust. And so I explained that to her, and she said, well, as long as you know who she was, but it might help you a little bit if you knew that your head she counts, but she goes home. But I had gotten down her name on that list, and I called her, and unfortunately she was at home. And I started to tell her about these terrible things that they had done to me, and she said in the usual charm, listen, I don't have time for that crap. And I hung up on her and called my sponsor. And I gave her the names and telephone numbers of the people that I had called were not willing to work the 5th step with me. And she said to me, I don't want to hear what he did either. So when you get around making a searching through moral inventory of yourself, and I said, just that. She said, read it. And I read it again. And I don't know how many times before I got to that point, I had an asked me the 12 steps. And I had said of yourself, but I never penetrated. It never hit me for some reason or other until she brought it to my attention. So I started writing. And I had 4 steps that was about that thick. And I would write, I lied down because, and I would explain what he had. They had made it necessary. And when I finally got finished, and I edited it, so that I had the right translation and everything was right. And then I typed it, and then I took it to him. And she took about 2 sentences, maybe even just one, I don't know. And she said to me, "And it isn't you very good to do all this." And I said, "Why not?" And she said, "Because it really doesn't make a bit of difference why you lied. You lied. Just write it down." And you know, I couldn't write it down. Because I had never considered myself a liar. I always found myself as a diplomat. Because I didn't lie. I just didn't tell the truth. And when I talk, I usually use an example in this sense, and as some of you probably know, I happen to be married to a thinker. Sometimes he thinks 2 weeks before he answers, you know, isn't as bad as it sounds. It's marvelous. Man, of course, you got to keep in mind everything we've been talking about, see? Because when he keeps up together, he never connects with anything. He just says, yes. I'll give you a better example. See, if I'm drinking, he's saying I'm dusting. And that's almost as bad as drinking. And one day when we happened to be playing golf, I just sort of looked over, you know, and that son of a gun was dusting the golf cart with my sweater. And I took almost an immediate exception to it. So when I got back in the car, I nearly said to him, "Then you die. I'm going to bury you in a plastic bag." And he didn't say anything, so I didn't say anything either. But about 2 weeks later, I were having a friend's house coffee one morning, and all of a sudden, he said to me, "I think it was very nice." He bought over, and he wanted to beg the idea, but that's the way I'm getting used to it. But on the example that you use about not lying and not telling the truth, happened when I was after that to a which is down near San Diego, and I was having, as I always say, a moment of growth, or whatever you want to call it. I knew well enough to go back with him without running over him. But I didn't want to tell him, didn't want to go, you know, because he still gets hurt so easy, and he moves around, and I can't command, I don't know what he's done. And we get involved in all that stuff, so I said, "Hey, I'm going to a meeting," and he still came out of that. But then I didn't know my 10:30 or 10:45, it was close to 1:45, and I walked through the door. There was right in my spot. It's that age-old question, what the hell did you do? And without even thinking, I said to him, "How far do you think it is to Chula Vista?" Now, that night, he accused me of lying to him. But that's what I did it. I didn't know when I was going to Chula Vista. And if he had said to me, "Winnie, are you going to Chula Vista?" I was going to say yes. See? That was the way I operated. I would say just enough to give you the idea that I wanted you to have, and I'd stop talking. And usually, most people will guess what you would have said if you'd gone on. They never guess right. I never had anybody guess what I meant. That's what I said. And so I really didn't think that last night. It took Wilma a long time to convince me that I was purposely leading him up the right path. Because I figured it was right enough to ask the right question. You stuck with it. Not your problem, not mine. But when she told me that I had just I lied on it and gone something else, I can do it. And so I hit on what I thought was a very brilliant way of taking a first step. I wrote it about the lady next door. And it was almost like a piece of fiction that I was writing. Yeah, when I read it, I realized the lady next door was me. Because everything that I had written down there about what she did and how she was how I was and what I did. And after this morning session early, and several of us were standing out here talking, and she was ending back that when you have somebody that you resent, you put their name at the top of a piece of paper, and you write down every single solitary thing about them that you do not like. And when you have written everything you can think of, write the name, put your name in the text, and you'll have an absolute picture of what you like. Because I believe that's true. I believe the things that bother me other people are things that I'm guilty of, but I'm not ready to take care of. So when I finally finished this, first the kind got to be a friend to me. Now, I know that probably sounds crazy to you, that's okay. I find it a pleasure, and I still do it. During the month of October, I call that my birthday month, and my birthday month is spent taking an inventory of the past year to look and see just how much progress or how much, whatever you want to call it, I won't say failure, because I don't like that word. But I get a chance to see whether I am still working to the best of my ability, principles this over. And I got kind of tired of working on me, and I decided to work on us. And so in October, I took an inventory for Eddie and me. And I got a bunch of papers to put down all his detective character, and a few sheets for mine. And what I was trying to do was I was trying to come up with the good things that he had shared. And I really didn't think that the good things was outweighed bad. They did. I started with the good things before long. I was starting to keep from this side, put over here. And I got to see the balance. And before I was through, those things that were so terrible were so few that I realized how much time I had spent worrying and being unhappy about such insignificant little things. Things he didn't even know anything about. So when I finally got that first inventory to the point where my sponsor would take care of it, I wasted it, I guess would be a better word, and I had to do fifth step. And I didn't too care for fifth step. And she already said most of what I had written. There were a lot of things that she did know that I hadn't written. And I wasn't sure. You know, it's like when you start practicing self-honesty, how scared you can be. And I was. If somebody was to point out that that was one of my big defects of character, that I couldn't be honest with myself. And instead of getting over it, liability by liability, what she did was she sat down and we shared each other experience from hope. She gave me an opportunity to say some of the things that had been possible for me to write on that piece of paper. And she allowed me the dignity to find out for myself. And there were usually things that she had taken from the very beginning. Because I didn't know that in Al-Anon and in the A, you can't comment. And she knew the game I was playing. But she allowed me to play those games until I got to the point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that sense, it all began to come together. In sponsoring people, I don't just do the fourth step at a certain period, or I don't just do it. Because that's the way I put it. Now, there are lots of different versions of how you do it and why you do it. And in that respect, Mr. and I are exactly about it. She tells people to do, I don't. But what works for her and the people she sponsors, whatever bit work for me and the people that I sponsor. Because Miss Sponsorship is two-way street. I refuse today to take responsibility for the human being taught. If I make what I call on people that I have to think for and do for, then I haven't stepped too far from the call. Because basically, what got me here was the ability to live my life myself, without having to depend on somebody else for my life or my livelihood. It's strange to me how this damn thing works, you know. When, as I told you the other day, I did get to choose my sponsor. I chose her. And I watched some of the methods that he used today. And I don't know whether I could admit it or not. Now, when you take somebody that was as sweet as I was, they have to find out for themselves. And there are days when some people that I sponsor have to sponsor me. Not who I want to go, I call Carol or tell her that I was thinking very much of some of my youngest son who can marry, I had to work because his wife and I do not get along. And she drives me crazy. She always come to my house and she'll say, I hope you don't have something because George really didn't like it. You don't tell me that because that's what I had, that was from me. And One time she brought McDonald's. That didn't work too well. They just got in for dinner, and she brought McDonald's because she knew George wasn't like what I was going to have. And so I called Carol and I said, I just told George, he can make that female too. And I told her a little bit about what was going on, and she started laughing. She said, does that remind you of me? And it did. That's what I used to do to I used to get so darn mad at that woman because she was always telling me that this is what my son really likes, you know. And I said to her, oh, you haven't eaten that since we've been married. And she said, well, that's because you didn't know how to cook. That was true, see. That was I could pour me a pea, I didn't know how to cook. And so what it did was bring me to a point where I point where I could see exactly what we've been talking about earlier today, that we were talking about. What I saw in her is something that I had done, but that I thought about. And it made it possible for me to let her be how she is. You know, she didn't call me very often, which is okay. I don't know what that ever anyhow, but still, because she's very much like Bobby, you know, opinionated and so forth and so on. But it was amazing to me how easy the fifth step went. You know, because it wasn't confession. That's what I thought the fifth step was all about. I thought the fifth step was similar to when I used to go to confession. No, I have to be very honest with you too, that I used to tell the priest I thought he needed to hear in order to give me absolution. And after I'd been down for a while, and I decided to go back to church, and I decided that I would make an honest confession. And I took my children and we went over to the church, and I let them go in first, because I knew it was going to be a while before I got through. And after they went out of the car, and I went in, I told that priest, I went way back, you know, I even bet that I had it in Pacific. And he was a little bored, but he gave me absolution, you know, and I made my confession. He said, by the Father's side, I'll marry the back to tradition, go away in peace. And I would believe it. But after everything I had told that man, this was the only penalty he gave me. And when I finally did that, I went out the car and looked and learned to see the car with his comic book, and I said, I just want to say, I'm home. After all the things I told him, you know, he said, I already saw him married back to tradition, go away in peace. And but you never even looked up from his magazine. He said, you told him God poked you with it, I Father's side, I'll marry the back to tradition. Because you see, I always like to depend on how big you are. I never really got hit. In all the years I'm school, I never really got hit to the fact that by being able to tell somebody else some of these things that bothered me, or that I knew were wrong, that I kept pushing down and pushing down, actually was part of my discomfort. Being able to like myself to the point that it really doesn't make a difference whether you like me or not. See, I can get away from you. I can walk out that door and I'm gone. You're here. The person I can never get away from is me. And regardless of whether I possibly be honest with you or not, it's not one darn thing for you. It's only to do something for me. I remember what person used to quote poetry at me for various hundred things. And when I would do something wrong, she would say, I have to live with myself, and so I want to be fit for myself to know. I want to stand with the sex and hate myself for the things I've done. I want to go out with my head right. I want to deserve all men's respect. Whatever happens, I want to be self-respecting and conscience straight. And I had been in Al-Anon for a very short period of time when Mother and I were talking one day, and I said, you know what? I finally know what that poem is all about. And she said, you knew what that poem was all about when you were about 10 years old. And I said, no, I didn't. I want to tell you no, no, I didn't. And she said to me, when you were about 10 years old, you did something, and I don't know what it was, but I started to recite the poem to you, and you threw one of these tantrums you've from your life, and you said to me, don't really hear it again. I don't like that, I don't listen. She said, that was the day that you understood what the poem was all about. Because I had, even at that age, begun to play that game of self-deception that usually ends up in what they call insanity or death. Because I believe that the non-alcoholic is just in great danger of insanity and death, as is the alcoholic. Maybe in a little bit different way, but we have people who practice self-deception right to the dog's death. Sometimes it's their death and sometimes it's somebody else's death. We had a case in California just a week ago, a little gal that was found murdered. And her husband was by these people was violent. She knew he was violent. She had left him, and he had convinced her to come back. And somewhere along the line, I have no idea where, but somewhere along the line, she did something, said something, or something happened. And he found her dead. But you see, that had to happen. Because she proved, as somebody that finds it necessary to not read and prove, what we only read in our book now, not in the book of AA. There is no answer to this illness that we all suffer from, except insanity or death. When I got to the seventh that hour, I was ready to remove all my defects of character. I didn't have any defects. In fact, when I came out, I didn't have any resentment. I hated a lot of people, but I didn't resent them, you know. In fact, well, asked me one time, or told me that I was going to have to get them a resentment, and I said, I don't have that resentment. And she said, oh, really? I hate a lot of people, but I don't resent them. And she said, who, for instance? Do you know that I could relate instances that had happened 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years before, as though they were happening right now. That is how vivid they were in my mind. And when she proved to me that I did maybe have a couple of resentments, I said, well, I visited them. And she said, pray for them. And so I heard him bum, I started at the top, you know, because I thought anybody would ask me to pray for some of these people that had done me, that had done it, I'd be on somebody else's side, not on. And it's amazing how they get it to appear. How I would begin to forget somebody. Have you ever done that in time? You get everybody's resentment down, all this, and all of a sudden, start to be sleeping, and what happened to so-and-so? Trying so desperately to hold on to something that I really wanted to let go of. But I find it, excuse me, in the resentment I found one guy who happened to be a very good friend of my husband. One I always figured was responsible for his misbehavior. And he was pretty. His name was Al. I could drive down the road and see a sign that said, I'll say. And I never get past the Al. And I see Al, and I think that's so-and-so. And I begin to think the things he's done, and the situations he got into that I did him out of all this stuff. So I went on a retreat out in Arcadia, and Azusa, and I brought him to the retreat after, and I made up my mind I was going to go talk to him about this Al. And I did. I went in and I told him about Al and all the things that I had done, just like it happened yesterday, maybe even today. And he just sat there in his usual bored manner. I don't know how many of you knew about it. He was from this area, around Portland, somebody said. But anyhow, we got through, he didn't say anything. And I said, well, and he said, well, what? I said, what do I do about him? He said, you pray for him. Now I know that look on my face told him that was not the answer I had been waiting for. I wanted absolution guilt. And he said to me, oh, come on, Winnie, I didn't tell you to pray that $1 million straight, that's what he deserves. Don't you think I know what probability is? And you know, I tried that. I tried that with other people. People that were upset me. You know, and I said, you see what he did? You know? So then I could get rid of that resentment as occurred. Then on the defect of character, I didn't know what defect of character was. I had a time with that, trying to figure out what we were talking about. Because when I came to Alabama, all I had was success. No liability whatsoever, no defective character. I was a very conscientious individual. I was a very charitable individual. I was a lot of things, I thought. But I didn't realize then, and I didn't realize until I had gone into it a little bit, that the motive behind why I did the things I did, the defects that I had to take care of. See, I didn't do things because I wanted to. I did because I thought you thought I ought to. And that's the defective character. That's a people pleaser. That's the way it was pointed out to me. It told me that in coming to the realization that if I was not capable of being able to be honest with myself, I wasn't capable of being honest with anybody else. And that was defective character. So I had to ask God to help me get rid of. I ended up with a lot more defects than I had liabilities, believe it or not. And yet today, after a period of time, I have thoroughly come to believe that my assets and my liabilities are exactly the same thing. It's how I apply them in my life that makes them either an asset or a liability. Because, as I have said many times, I'm a procrastinator by profession, but there are some people that run headlong and think it is just as much trouble as I get paid. Now, if I have a little bit of what she's got a little bit of what I got, then we both got an asset. And that's what I have been learning in this program. I haven't got down pat yet, but at least I know where to start. And that's the important thing it's all about. That's the sixth step. The seventh step is the shortcomings. I'm like a lot of other people, I said to them one day, why do you have to have shortcomings and defects of character? And she said, well, I don't know whether it's true or not. Somebody told me that those want 12 steps. And the only way you could do it was split in a shortcoming instead of a defective character. Now, I don't know that that's true or not. I thought my shortcomings were just those things that were exactly like a defective character, because I didn't practice them all the time. They were things I just ran into my life from time to time, making them out like. That was shortcoming. And I had done the same with those too. It really amazes people. And the defective character is being able to tell the truth as the truth is. And you've been to tell the truth. You'd be amazed now you can really know a lot of people. Because then it was believe you or not. Well, I had known it was going to turn out the way I was till one time ago. Because people are geared to disbelieve you. Or to minimize what you say. And I know that. I know that if somebody said you do want to do something, you said no, it really frustrates them. Because they expect you to say yes. And when you say no, they don't look at it. Because that's sort of a final answer. And I used to have trouble with Benedict. He one of these people that used to come home to us once in a while and try to get me to do something I didn't want to. Like the example I used a lot of times just when you come home on Wednesday afternoon and he'd say to me, you don't need to take these days off. That's what he said. But that's not what he meant. Well, he'd already called me. They were already playing weren't done. And I was the second choice. Well, I like being the second choice. I am number one. And so I used to list things that I worked like around to. And I do those when he would come home and say, I take these days off. I think, gosh, I just love those. But I more tend to just wash the freezer or clean the closet or dump the iron. And he tried to persuade me, and I would stand my ground. And he would let me win. And he went off to golf course. He had a beautiful lady to play golf. I started freezing. I wasn't too happy about the way that game was going. So I decided to turn it over, and I did. And I went to a meeting one night, and I heard that Al say, whenever Paul asks me to do something that I really don't want to do, I may say I don't know. Now, I like that because it had kind of a classy ring compared to what I usually said. So I kind of filed away, and a few nights later I go to another area. Completely different area. And there she is again, nobody asked it this time. Just all of a sudden she said, whenever Paul asks me to do something that I really don't want to do, I immediately say I will not.